What's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Holly and this is my booktube channel. And I'm usually sitting in front of my bookshelves, but today I thought, you know what? The lighting is really kind of pretty in this room. This is my bedroom, if you can't tell. And I thought, let's just film the video in there. And the bed's comfy to sit on, so it works. We're gonna roll with it. Usually I'm drinking some kind of coffee or tea, but I was feeling really dehydrated today. It's been hot in Texas. It's been like 90 degrees and we're in March, if you can believe it. So I've been drinking some water with electrolytes and trying to stay hydrated. And yes, I'm wearing a sweatshirt, but that's because when you're indoors in Texas in the heat, the refrigerated air is quite chilly. So you're either sweating outside or chilly inside. Take your pick, but that's where we're at. And without further ado, let's jump into the video. Today I'm going to be talking about spring books. So books that have kind of a vibe of spring or just give me spring feels, or maybe they're even set in spring, that kind of thing. Some of these are books that I have read and some of these are books that I have not read. So with that, I'd like to start with a book called Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This was recommended to me by a Facebook group that I'm in. It's called Books of Horror, I think is the exact title of the Facebook group. And I posted a question in the Facebook group and said, I need your best weird horror recommendations. And the reason I asked is because Jason over at Jason's Weird Reads, if you haven't checked out his channel, you really need to. He is doing a week of weird where basically you read weird books for a week. And so I thought, that's an interesting challenge. I want to take part in that. And it starts this week. I think it actually started yesterday, so I need to get on it. But the Facebook group that I'm in said you really need to read Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. You'll really like it. And the reason that I picked this for a spring book is because for some reason in spring, I just think like green and, you know, sci-fi and plants and just everything in that realm. And so not only is this cover green and has some sort of like creepy plant life going on, but the premise sounds very spring as well. The back of the book essentially says that there's this Area X and it's been cut off from the rest of the world for decades. Basically, nature has reclaimed this area. So, you know, civilization is almost non-existent. Nature has done its thing, reclaimed the area. So it's pretty, can you tell I'm from Texas? It's pretty wild and untamed at this point. So they sent like a first expedition and the reports came back that it was this pristine, beautiful landscape. And so they sent a second expedition, which ended in mass suicide. Not sure how that happened. And then they sent a third expedition and apparently it ended in a hail of gunfire as its members turned on one another. So this Area X is obviously really strange, really untamed. Then apparently the members of an 11th expedition returned and then all of them a week later died from cancer after getting back from this Area X. In this book, there's a group made up of 4 women. There's an anthropologist, a surveyor, a psychologist. Y'all, that spring forward time change has affected me so bad. I'm exhausted. I just let my hair air dry. I've had no desire to style it or to really wear makeup, and my vocabulary stinks. So bear with me. I hope you're recovering from the lack of sleep like I am. And anyway, we have an anthropologist, a surveyor, a psychologist, the de facto leader, and the narrator of the story, the one you're mainly following, who's a biologist. So their mission is to go out to Area X, map the terrain, record all their observations, and then avoid being contaminated by Area X itself. It says that there are surprises that come across the border, there's secrets that the expedition team members are keeping from each other, And that just sounds like a wild ride. You've got a very sci-fi, weird horror type of book. You've got this untamed area with tons of nature references. You've got 4 awesome, smart sounding women. I'm on board, and I think it's a great book for spring and for the Week of Weird. So if you participated in the Week of Weird, let me know what you read. I'd be interested to know. The next book that I have for you is kind of along that same vein, the whole green landscape, the sci-fi, and that is Congo by Michael Crichton. I loved this book when I read it, and it's actually a pretty good movie too. It's essentially taking place in, as you might expect, the Congo. And obviously the Congo is in the African rainforest. So you can imagine green, rain, wildlife, nature, very spring, right? It also takes place near the legendary ruins of the lost city of Zinj, I think is how you pronounce it. And there's an expedition of 8 geologists who get mysteriously and brutally killed in a matter of minutes. So some of your main characters are Karen Ross. She's a Congo project supervisor, and she watches a gruesome video of the aftermath of these killings. I guess someone sends this video to her of what it looks like, and the camp is destroyed, the tents are crushed, there's equipment scattered everywhere, there's dead bodies everywhere, and all of it is motionless except for there's like one blur of an image that goes across the screen, like some sort of grainy figure, and they can't really tell what it is. And then your other main character is Peter Elliott. He works with Amy. Amy is a gorilla, and she has this like incredible vocabulary, and she does sign language. She also likes to finger paint, but in this book, her behavior starts to get really erratic, and her drawings are really starting to get strange, and they have really crazy accuracy. They start to look like the drawings of an ancient lost city. So this book is all about the expedition, this new expedition after these killings have taken place. They take Amy with them into the Congo and enter this like secret world, and crazy things start happening. And it's been a really long time since I've read it, but I remember loving it, and rereading the back of the book just now reminded me of a lot of it, and it's coming back to me, but I don't want to spoil anything. So if you haven't read it or watched the movie, please do, and enjoy all the lush greenery along with the horror and the dead bodies and the mass, destruction. This next book is one that I have not read yet, but my mom read it and said that I would love it. So this is her copy, and that is Defending Jacob by William Landay. This one I felt like would be a really good spring read because I believe it takes place in April. So obviously takes place in spring. So essentially the premise is this. You're following your main character, Andy. He is an assistant district attorney. He's been a district attorney for like 20 years. He is admired, respected. He's got a great home life. He has an awesome wife and a son named Jacob. And then all of a sudden it sounds like there is a young boy who is stabbed to death in a park. And the accused is Andy's own son, Jacob. So Andy, of course, believes that Jacob is innocent. I cannot talk, but we are going to get through this video. I'm determined. So Andy is convinced that his son is innocent, like any parent would, right? But there's all this pressure that starts building. There's a ton of evidence. There's doubt. His marriage starts to take a hit. The neighbors are talking, and there's a whole murder trial that's obviously going to take place. So it's kind of the story of the ultimate test for a parent. How far would you go to protect your child? And, did Jacob really commit this crime? I don't know. It sounds amazing. Anyone that knows my channel for even a few seconds knows that I love legal thrillers. I'm an attorney if you're new here, so that is what just strikes my fancy. So this one looks really good, takes place in April, and even the cover is kind of green and lush and real pretty. So I don't know, my mom says it's amazing. She says I would love it. And she hasn't been wrong yet about books. So there you have it. That is Defending Jacob by William Landay. This next book is one that I really enjoyed and I think will be great for spring because it takes place in, I think, like early June, which is technically still spring. I don't think summer starts until June 21st or so. So it's technically still taking place in spring in Italy, near the ocean side. And there's a lot of like rain and downpour, all the things you would see in spring. It also takes place in the setting of a wedding. That's kind of the whole premise of the book. And weddings are all over the place now in terms of the time of year, but traditionally weddings took place in the spring. My own wedding took place in the spring, which is another reason my sister gave this to me. So I think it's perfect for spring. The back of the book describes it like this. Jetting from sparkling turquoise waters off the Italian coast, Isle Iola is an idyllic setting for a wedding. In the majestic clifftop villa owned by the wealthy Compton family, up-and-coming artist Claire Hunter will marry handsome, charming Jack Compton, surrounded by close family, intimate friends, and a host of dark secrets. From the moment Claire sets foot on the island, something seems amiss. Skeletal remains have just been found. There are other, newer disturbances too. Menacing texts, a ruined wedding dress, a troubling shadow hanging over Claire's otherwise blissful relationship, the strange mystery surrounding Jack's first wife. Then a raging storm descends, the power goes out, and the real terror begins. I'll admit, I was skeptical when my sister gave this to me because I don't typically do like books with relationship drama. I can't take it in my real life and in book life. I don't like relationship drama. I like to keep it simple, keep it uncomplicated, no drama for me. But this book worked. The author did not overdo it with drama. It was more centered around the dark family secrets and things like that. It didn't get into like annoying reality TV style relationship drama, if you get what I mean by that. It really focused on the thriller aspect, the secrets of this Compton family, all the horrible things that are going wrong. She's getting these strange texts. Someone ruins her wedding dress, which that's a nightmare in and of itself. Needless to say, it was a page turner. I flew through it, loved it. I thought it was awesome, and I'd highly recommend it for some spring reading. The atmosphere is amazing. You really feel like you were there in this Italian villa with the rain pouring and the ocean crashing. It's so good, and I did not see a lot of this book coming, but I really loved it, highly recommend it. That is Her Dark Lies by J.T. Ellison. And last but not least is a book that I've sort of read. And what I mean by that is when I first started reading it, I had checked it out from my local library and I wasn't finished with it yet when I got a message from the library that said you need to return it because someone has this on hold. And I thought, they can do that? They can just rip a book out of your hands and give it to the next person in line before you're even done with it? Rude. But anyway, I have not yet finished it yet, but I got really close, so I just need to, of course, finish it. So I bought it on eBay because I wanted this particular cover. And I'm speaking of Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I can never pronounce her last name, but there you have it. I love this cover. It's the original cover from the 90s. I hope y'all can see that. It's got some amazing Scottish, atmosphere, and I've never been to Scotland, but I've heard that it is gorgeous and green, and you can imagine all the spring vibes. And when this book starts out, it is actually the start of the spring equinox, so it's just perfect. You might not think that this was a book I would pick up, but I absolutely loved it. I loved it. And there's a ton of romance in this book, but it was romance I got on board with. I was just, The character Jamie, the love interest, oh my goodness. Ask any woman that's read this book or seen the TV show what they think about Jamie, or man, if you swing that way. Ask anyone what they think about Jamie. Heartthrob, just total heartthrob. Essentially, from what I remember, it's been a minute since the library took it from me, but you've got this main character. She is a nurse in the 1940s, and she goes on this trip with her husband to Scotland, and she's wandering around these ancient ruins when something happens, and she ends up traveling back in time to like 1700s Scotland, and she's stuck there, doesn't know how to get back, and ends up practically building this whole other life there. And she gets torn between, should I go back to the past if I can figure out how to do that and be with my husband who I love, or do I stay here in Scotland with this handsome Scotsman Jamie, who she starts falling in love with. That's not a spoiler, that's the whole premise of the book. And you get these amazing vibes of the Scottish countryside. The nature references are everywhere. You will love it. I loved it, and I'm not even technically finished with it, and there's a ton in the series. I can't even imagine how I'm gonna get through them all, and it's also a TV show that I hear is really good. I have not watched the TV show because I don't want to be spoiled, but I thought it would be absolutely perfect for a spring read. So there you have it. That is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I don't know if that's right, but you can see it there. Well, that wraps up my recommendations for spring reading. I hope these have given you some ideas. I tried to pick books that I thought were spring vibes, very green, very lush, very nature oriented. That's what kind of comes to my mind when I think of spring. And I'll probably be letting y'all know what I think of the book Annihilation. I plan to be reading it this week during the week of Weird, so that'll probably be in my March wrap-ups at some point. Let me know what you guys are reading for spring. Does it have spring vibes, or is it totally random? Is it a book about Halloween? I don't know. Do you read according to the seasons? Let me know that as well. And until then, I will see y'all in my next video. Bye y'all.